Live from our studios at Kokomlemle in Accra. Hello and welcome to The Pulse. We're also live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, and on all our social media handles. We're JoyNews on TV. Coming up on The Pulse, President John Mahama's administration faces a mounting pressure this afternoon as a coalition of four leading policy and energy think tanks push for an immediate reduction in fuel prices, proposing a sweeping cap of 1 cedi 65 pesos per litre through targeted tax and levy adjustments within the petroleum price build-up. We have more plus here from an energy expert here on The Pulse. Also coming up, Africa Education Watch sounds the alarm over the poor distribution of teachers across the country, revealing that in some districts, about 20% of primary schools are manned by just one teacher. We have details as the education think tank describes the ongoing recruitment of 7,000 teachers as a drop in the ocean. Deadly non-communicable diseases including diabetes, hypertension, stroke, cancer and chronic kidney disease tighten their grip on Ghana, now accounting for nearly half of all deaths, even as the government rolls out a major free primary healthcare policy to curb the escalating crisis.
These are rising at an alarming rate. In this country, about 42 to 45% of our mortalities are attributable to non-communicable diseases.
Health authorities in eastern and northeast regions are compelled to treat patients with various infectious diseases in a makeshift ward as the country continues to battle with emerging cases.
I came with meningitis, and then I'm lying close to somebody with TB without the systems that filters the air. I may get the person's TB, but I can also be kept in the general ward because I pose a risk to other patients on the general ward.
We've got more on that in our latest documentary, Healing in Borrowed Spaces. Ghana leaves over Black Stars coach appointment. A 73-year-old Portuguese and former Manchester United coach Carlos Queiroz gets a 4-month contract to take Ghana to the World Cup. We have a breakdown of his experience, hear from experts, plus what some football fans make of that particular appointment. We've got the latest of these and many other stories coming up in the next 3 hours. The Pulse is brought to you by Defendro Cough Expectorant Defendro. Breathe easy, feel better. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, see you in a moment. Good afternoon. A coalition of four leading policy and energy think tanks are intensifying pressure on the government to immediately reduce fuel prices, proposing a sweeping cut of 1 cedi 65 pesos per litre through targeted tax and levy adjustments within the petroleum price build-up. The groups Imani Africa, COPEC Ghana, INSTPR and the Institute of Energy Security argue that the proposal offers immediate relief for consumers without causing long-term instability in the downstream petroleum sector. The intervention comes in the wake of a directive from President John Mahama, who has tasked the Finance and Energy Ministries to review the fuel pricing structures and recommend structures and measures to cushion Ghanaians against rising cost of living. The groups argue that the intervention must go beyond short-term optics, insisting that while relief is necessary, it must be carefully balanced to avoid destabilizing the petroleum sector. My colleague Caleb Ziblim of our research desk is joining me in studio with details of that particular proposal. And Caleb, what exactly is the group proposing?
Yes, Ken. So the group or the coalition is proposing a reduction in taxes on petrol by about 1 cedi 65 pesos. So currently, for every litre of petrol or fuel you buy, you pay 4 cedis 20 pesos, sometimes 4 cedis 27 pesos in taxes. So So the group is asking the government to reduce those taxes by 1 cedi 65 pesos. And they have given government where to touch the reduction from. If you look at the list, it's a long list of taxes on our petroleum products, about 11 of them if you take them out individually. But then the government has consolidated them into 6 separate line items of taxes. But then if you take it out one by one, you see there are about 11 taxes on petroleum products. So the group is saying that the government should reduce this 4 cedis 20 pesos tax that we pay for every liter by 1 cedi 65 pesos. And they say they should touch the energy sector shortfall and recovery levy. That's also what we call ESLA now. They say they should reduce it by 50 pesos. You know, it was increased last year by 1 cedi to purchase fuel for our thermal plants. Now they are saying that they should reduce it by 50 pesos. Again, they want the road fund levy reduced by 24 pesos. They want the energy fund levy maintained. They want the special petroleum tax reduced by 23 pesos. And then some of the margins, they want the bus margin, the fuel market margin, and the UPPF margins all reduced. Now, the thing is that once you touch some of the taxes on petroleum products, it's going to result in a shortfall for the government. But the makeup of the taxes are in twofold. So we have what we call taxes and levies, and what we call margins. So margins are not taxes that go directly to the government. The margins go to some of the SOEs within the sector. So some taxes go to the NPA. Some margins go to the NPA. Some margins also go to Bust Energies. Some also go to the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. So once you touch these margins, they don't affect government revenue. And if you look at the list provided by the coalition, about almost all of them touch on taxes. A few of them go to the margins. And if you take out the taxes from the 1 cedi 65 pesos, we have 1 cedi 11 pesos. So that 1 cedi 11 pesos is going to be a direct hit to the government's revenue. And then and I did the math, and then you will see that this revenue shortfall is going to be almost 600 million Ghana cedis for 4 weeks. And I know Iman is also asking for the extension from 4 to 8 weeks or 2 months. So if we do the math again, it means that within the 8-month period, the government is going to lose about 1.2 billion Ghana cedis just in relief measures and by taking out 1 cedi 11 pesos. The remainder of the reduction is going to come from the margin, so from Bust, from the fuel market margin, and from the UPPF, and then from the price stabilization levy. But then this one goes directly to subsidizing premix fuel for our fisher folk. So again, this will be affected by the fishermen.
And what justification are these groups giving with regards to the finances on government, all these proposals that they are proposing to government?
So like I said, within the 2 weeks, the 2 months period, government is going to lose about 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. Now, according to the coalition, government should be able to absorb this loss because there's going to be some windfall from oil exports. Now, I know Ghana exports oil, and whenever our partners at the oil producing fields produce oil, the government gets some parts of it as royalties and also as carried interest. So when the government gets the oil from the oil production, Ghana then sells it through GNPC, and then we get some revenue for the budget. Now, according to the coalition, they are saying that because currently oil prices are averaging $100 per barrel, and the government's budget said $76 per barrel, there's going to be a windfall of more than $20 per barrel. So use that windfall to support the revenue shortfall that we are going to see from this. But then the problem with that is we don't get oil from our producing partners every month. There's an arrangement with them where we get the oil as and when they produce. Last year, at the beginning of the year, we got oil from some of our partners in the Jubilee field in January and March. So it depends on when Ghana gets delivery of its oil from their producing fields. If we've already gotten delivery and already sold them at the lower prices, then we are not going to benefit from the windfall. If we already gotten them and we are yet to sell them, then Ghana will benefit from this windfall. So we need to get clarification from GMPC or from the Energy Ministry as to whether we've sold some oil on the international markets at higher prices now. If we've not sold it, are we keeping the oil, or when we get it, will we sell it? So that's how they are saying the government should, chest or absorb some of the losses they're going to make.
They've also raised concerns about government's timeline on this particular cushioning that they want to give to Ghanaians. Why?
Yes, so the group wants the timeline increased from the initial 4 weeks that was announced to 8 weeks or 2 months. Now, government said they are given an initial 4-week period at the end of the 4 weeks, they'll come back to the table, cabinets will meet again, and then decide whether they should end the suspension or prolong it, depending on the factors in the Middle East. But according to their group, if you want to see the impact, it should be between 2 months, because sometimes it takes a long time. Even if the war ends, let's say next week, it will take some time for the markets to readjust and the prices to fall back down. So for consumers not to be paying higher prices for a long time, they want there to be a 2-week period, a 2-month period, so that even if the war ends somewhere in between the 2 months, consumers can still enjoy lower prices till the price of petroleum on the market normalizes.
And what are their long-term demands?
Yeah, so on the price build-up or the taxes and levies and margins, according to the group, there are some levies and margins that can be taken off permanently. So they want the government to have a relook at the entire tax build-up on petroleum products and take out some of the obsolete or outdated taxes on them. That's a long-term proposal. Again, they say that we should introduce a strategic fund where some of the taxes we pay goes to this fund, and then this fund is now used to purchase petroleum products and kept for times like this. And then finally, they also want that Tema Oil Refinery is revamped, and the government should put in the necessary investments within Tema Oil Refinery and then get them up and running, so that in times like this, the Ghana is not too exposed to the international market.
Caleb Ziblim, thank you very much. He's a member of our research desk here at JoyNews. And joining me this afternoon on Zoom is an economist and professor of finance, Kwesi Pipra of Andrews University in the United States. Welcome to the program. What do you make of these demands by these CSOs? Are they feasible? What will be the impact for the energy sector and the economy at large?
Good afternoon to you, and I hope you are all doing well. Well, looking at the demand being put forward, if I look at the mass, based on the taxes and levy they are proposing, it's roughly about 40% that they want the government, and then also, if you including the margins, and to be shared off. Just if you look at it from the revenue side, what will hit government alone, which will be about 35% of based on their request. This is really going to affect government revenue. I know government, the decision by government is on a short-term decision to be able to address this issue. We all know each line item in the tax build-up on petroleum is very, very, very important. However, if we, and I'll say I also support a reduction, but the request of about 40% in total is really on the high side. We know that users of petroleum, transport operators and the rest definitely will increase their prices, but the offset is not going to benefit government. Let me use it that way. So I will think that knowing that government may suffer revenue and also affect projects that is being done to benefit Ghanaians, a 20% in total reduction will be a fair deal, and which is for the short-term period of the 1 week, the 4 weeks which have been proposed. And in the long term, if you want to go on a long term, I'll probably also look at about 2 months and see how this will work. Let's remember that as your other colleague mentioned, the effect of the war is not going to end now. It's going to take some time. So we should not think just in 4 weeks. A 4 weeks interval in terms of planning is too short. If government may have to probably also extend the discussion on the reduction, so that will help. In general, I have been proposing that government may have to submit a mid-year review budget, and where they must also show a sign that yes, because of the impact of revenue shortfall, some physical line items, government expenditure items, government is going to reduce some of them, especially on projects, so that it will still help us to maintain the target being set for 2026.
So basically, you're not in support of the demands that they are making, which you have told us is in excess of 40% of the current price buildup in the petroleum sector?
Yes. So that is too high for government to shed 40% is really going to affect government. So 20% will be a fair deal of discussion or proposal for government to consider, and not as high as they have presented.
We're all still waiting for a government's final decision, but what do you think will be the best decision for government to do? You've already made your proposal that you wish that there should be 20% reduction of these tax buildup, but realistically, what will be the best proposal from government?
From government should not just look at this fuel reduction. The best proposal is that this must go in line with a mid-year budget review, where government will also show to us that because revenue is going to be reduced, some expenditure line items and capital expenditure items has also been reduced. We must align our expected revenues with expenditure, so that the target set for 2026 can be achieved. Government short-term proposal for 4 weeks is not feasible. The war is not going to end now. History tells us even a small war will have an effect of about 6 months impact on all economies. The World Bank is also predicting similarly that it's going to take roughly 6 months if these things should go ahead. So we must have a lasting, long, probably more than 1 month plan, so that investors and also companies can also plan along, individuals can also plan. But just to have a 1 month interval of intervention will really not help in terms of companies and individual lifestyle in Ghana.
Do you then support the CSO saying that it should be 2 months instead of the 1 month, or you think it should even go further?
It's in my case, in my proposal, it should be even more than the 2 months. 6 months would be best, because industries will be able to plan very well. So then that's why I'm aligning it also with also a review of our entire budget for 2026, so that we know that yes, we will be able to align all our revenues coming in for the next 6 months with our plan for expenditure and capital items for 2026. So that is my proposal. Having that short, by the time you close your eyes and open the 4 weeks, you are there. So and these transport operators will not wait. They will start making noise if things go to the south. So we must plan very well and give room for all volatilities in the market. 6 months, in my perspective, with this strategy, in my proposal, will be the best. 1, we do the reduction in fuel pricing. 2, we go to Parliament with a review of our entire budget for 2026, come out with a clear reduction in some expenditure line items and also capital line items, so that we can create enough room to be able to cover 2026.
The government finds itself in a very delicate situation, doesn't it? Because looking at the calculations that my colleague Caleb Ziblim did, which amounts to 40% of the proposal the CSOs are demanding, that is 600 million cedis per month. Now you are demanding somewhere, 20%? So that will be 300 million cedis per month. And is it not going to hurt government if government is to shelve 300 million cedis per month for 6 months, as you are proposing?
I mean, 300 million is really going to hurt government. That is why I've also come with the other proposal that government must now ask themselves which line items in our expenditure build-up, goods and services or capital expenditure items, can we defer to 2027? So that 300 million being proposed by me will not throw our entire budget and targets out of gear. Remember, we are still under the IMF program, which will end somewhere in August. So we must watch every decision we take, so that the quantitative targets are not missed.
Well, this group is also demanding the permanent removal of some of the taxes and levies on petroleum products. Is that something you support?
Let's ask ourselves why are they asking for permanent removal? Does it mean that they don't see the benefit of those tax line items, or they think that it's being misused, or it's outdated and it does not serve its purpose? We can only probably consider a permanent removal, it might, as I've been mentioning, through a media budget review. And then we really see the way forward for government. Because once every city is very important to government plan. So once you remove one line item, it means that that money must come from somewhere else for government to be able to go alongside its own budgets for 2026. So permanent removal at this stage will be, in my perspective, will be very. It's not worth it. We should not. Already, we have removed some taxes in 2024, 2025. We must be very careful in considering all these things. Very soon, all labor union and the rest will be coming to government to ask for increase in wages because of if living conditions, and as is happening, inflation rate from next month and other months will start going up a little bit, and this is going to cause some pressures from labor to ask for more, and government must be prepared to have that revenue if government really want to support employees or citizens in Ghana to be able to pay that.
So you've outlined the best case scenario for government to do in the next few days. What will be the worst case scenario? What decision will be terrible for government to take on this?
So the worst case scenario is for government to sit down and not take any action or come out with any reduction. Listening to the International Monetary Fund report, they are proposing that during this period, every government must come out with targeted interventions and not broad interventions. So the reduction in fuel and prices that government is going to propose, it must be targeted towards something. So government must tell us, yes, if we are going to reduce this levy or that levy, what will be the impact? And that assessment must be done. I know at the Ministry of Finance, they have the data to be able to let us know the actual impact on the economy. If government really feel that it's really going to inflation is going to go up and affect other sectors, social intervention programs must also be considered to bring some of the mitigation measures. I've seen government bringing in some buses, but these buses, as they are coming, is still going to use the fuel or that we buy, which means that consumption is going to go up. But how will these transport operators, especially the state-owned transport operators, be able to survive and become profitable? It means that they must need some subsidy or support from Ministry of Finance, because if they are not allowed to increase their fares, it means that yes, their expenses are going to go up, revenue is going to go down, and in that case, that shortfall must be covered by government. So the worst case is for government to say we are not going to do anything. But if whatever government focus to do, it must be targeted towards a specific intervention and not just a broad intervention.
Well, President John Mahama has also hinted that government is in talks with Dangote refinery in neighboring Nigeria to possibly supply us with some oil in the near future. Will that make any difference at all?
I mean, it's a good thing. That is just to only maintain the supply chain line so that shortage will be envisaged in the near future. However, Dangote will sell to us still at the world price in terms of crude. The only savings probably we may get is on the freight because of the short distance, and that will be something positive to us. in that regard. And as we have been always saying, I mean, it's good to trade to trade among ourselves within Africa. So this is also going to and help that kind of trade with international trade within Africa. If Dangote's product comes under AGWA, and AGWA gives some benefits in terms of taxation on the levies that are charged at the ports, then Ghana is going to benefit. But I don't know. I have not done any research to find out if Dangote's crude is considered under AGWA's production for us to also enjoy some tax benefits on levies charged by ECOWAS and the rest. So these are the conditions. But the present proposal is to ensure a long-term supply of crude to Ghana, where there will be no more shortages.
Professor Pepra, stay with me because I have the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, Duncan Amwa. His group is one of the many groups that are demanding upwards of 1 cedi 65 pesos removal of taxes on petroleum products, and he's joining me on the telephone lines right now for more. Duncan, welcome to the program. What went into that proposal that made you come to a consensus that government, for the best of the country, should reduce prices on petroleum products by 1 cedi 65 pesos?
Well, this is a decision already come to by cabinet, and so naturally the energy and the finance ministers are enjoined to follow through that directive by cabinet. What we gathered yesterday, following which we had to do our consultation and put together that joint press statement, is to the extent that if you are not careful, some taxes will be taken off, others will be left entirely. And once that happens, some of the critical services that those taxes are used to pay for would probably suffer for the next 4 weeks or 2 months if that should happen. And so we, as think tanks within the space, came together and said, look, you can take off a little bit for everybody. People can squeeze within the period, but still be able to at least execute whatever mandate that they need to, particularly the transporters who would need to carry fuel from one point to the other, particularly road fund that government depends on for, revenue to be able to fix your road infrastructure. And so we said that, look, take out some minimum portions or bits of everything so that cumulatively you can be able to give the consumer something. But the government of the day should also not suffer a collateral consequence because of the tensions in the Gulf that has led all of us to where we are now. So these are the taxes that we think fairly. Of course, if you touched a bit of, the Dumso levy that was introduced, the 1 cedi, take out half, leave half to the government so that they can still be able to procure light crude oil for the power plant, take out the UPPF, which is 90 pesos, put half of it back in the pockets of the people, let the transporters be paid so that they can still send fuel across, that's fine. Boss margin also came under scrutiny. We said, look, boss has still got a lot of things that they need to cater for. Some borrowing would have been occasioned using those funds. And so take out half of boss, the 12 pesos, do 6 pesos for them. UPPF, we've talked about that already. We are also looking at even the fuel marketing program to say that, look, maybe they would also consider and take some reduction in the rate, although these are contractual issues. So if you put it all together, we arrived at the 1 cedi 65 that we think is fair. But let me put this caveat. That would not entirely fix the challenges that we are facing currently. There's the issue of the heavier lifting that the government would need to avert its minds to, invest technically and strategically in the refinery, bring it to a more modern refinery concept so that I don't take 1 million barrels there and you end up giving me 850 or 900,000. because of an inefficient, old, obsolete plant. Whatever necessary investments we need to put in the refinery, put it there. Also bring the bus infrastructure to some very, very good use at this point, where government would now begin to look at strategic reserve margins that you and I, anytime we buy fuel, can put something down so that they can store strategic fuel to be able to cushion all of us in such difficult times as we find currently on our hands. Without government intervention, mind you, by Thursday, fuel prices would have inched up again, although within the window, it did go up, it did decline a bit, but overall, it would have gone up because, again, we are even getting to a point where the cedi is beginning to lose, marginally to the dollar. So something more comprehensive would have to give beyond just taking out some of these taxes for the next 4 weeks or so. Something more comprehensively would need to be done.
Duncan, so I take that to mean that you've already been consulted by the finance and energy ministers, per what you're telling me.
What I can put on record is that there's some discussion ongoing currently, and we are hopeful that at the end of the day, it will be a win-win. Government would not take off everything. The consumer would still be able to get something. But then again, even for government, particularly for road fund, for the special petroleum tax, those taxes that go directly to government chests, we are not sure government would even make losses, right? Because you have a situation where the crude we produce and export would now be gaining what you would call windfalls, very, very significant windfalls at this point, where you are not just looking at, almost 30% of windfall. So a cargo that you would have sold for 70 million before the start of these tensions or conflict, today would go for over 100 million USD, same cargo. And so we think that government would have made up for some of the taxes or the tax revenue or lost revenue by the windfalls that it would have been accruing from our crude exports that we also put out there on the international market.
But Duncan, we've done the calculations here at JoyNews. Our research team has been helping us put together the calculations. And if you do remove those taxes as being proposed by COPEC and others, government is going to be losing somewhere around 600 million Ghana cedis a month. Is that a good idea?
Carlos, 600 million a month. We think that it could be more, but even if it is 600, in dollar terms, that's about 50 million USD. That would amount to about 1 or 2 liftings that we would do at the Jubilee, and for that matter, our production fields. It could be, we could get way more than even that, assuming we are even throwing away 600. But mind you, that 600 is not going to be entirely government lost revenue. The taxes that we have mentioned, the boss margin, you are talking about fuel marking, you are also talking about the UPPF. That doesn't go to government revenue, right? It doesn't. These are monies that we pay for contractual bits. And so what government really would lose would be from the special petroleum tax, 23 pesos, and then again, the road fund, which is about 48 pesos, we are saying take off the 24 pesos. So together, government could be losing about 40, 50 pesos, unless, of course, you are adding the Dumso levy, the other 50 pesos that we talk about. That clearly will take you to the 600, like you indicated. But that could also be made up for by our petroleum exports windfalls.
Right. You're also proposing an entire scrapping of some of the levies and taxes on petroleum products.
The zeroing of the price stabilization and recovery levy, it wouldn't be the first time. This even did happen under the erstwhile Dr. Mustafa Hamid's era at the NPA, where in difficult times the price stabilization and recovery was almost always zeroed to give some relief to consumers. I do think that that is also a necessary thing to do at this point, because you are not stabilizing anything. You are not, I don't know, saving that money for any other thing. If the consumer can get that relief, we think that government should go for it. The ministry should go for it.
Right, Duncan, thank you very much. Let me bring back Professor Pepra of Andrews University. Professor Pepra, you've been hearing Duncan Amwa, the Executive Secretary of COPEC, one of the groups that is calling for a scrapping of levies and taxes on petroleum products of up to 1 cedi 65 pesos. He's been justifying his case. Do you think he makes a fair point?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him because from what he said, he's saying that they've heard in the grapevine that government is thinking of entirely removing some line items and they don't support it. If you listen to me earlier on, that is what I said, that it may not be in our interest to remove fully any of the line items, but rather to do a reduction in the line items. Just that they propose 40% and I am proposing roughly 20%. Each line item, we all understand is important for us. They serve a purpose, and to scrap or remove any of them entirely will not help us. And also, as you confirm, that short-term discussion is not something that businesses will want that to be like government to only look at just 4 weeks. A long term, probably 6 months to 3 months, will be something that will help businesses to be able to plan. So I support their justification, and probably it's good that they've put in that proposal to government to consider, instead of government outrightly removing some specific tax line items.
Kwesi Pepra, thank you very much. He's a professor of finance at Andrews University, far away in the USA. Well, let's still stay on fuel because Ghana is being squeezed by surging global oil prices, with fuel costs rising sharply even as the country stands to gain billions in extra revenue from crude exports. Crude exports climbing above $100 per barrel has pushed petrol up about 15% and diesel nearly 19% in early April, forcing the government to announce temporary tax cuts and plans to ease transport costs. Well, the spike presents a delicate trade-off. While higher prices could bring in roughly 8 billion cedis in additional revenue, they also risk driving inflation, weakening the cedi, and straining households already facing rising energy and transport costs. And despite improved buffers from the restart of the Tema oil refinery and a stronger external position, analysts are warning that Ghana remains vulnerable if high oil prices persist and the currency comes under pressure. Let's get talking. And Kofi Into Queenin is an energy economist and is joining me on the telephone lines for more on this. Welcome to the program. You describe Ghana as both a beneficiary and a victim of high oil prices. I want to find out from you, is Ghana actually better off or worse off right now? And what determines which side wins, actually?
Good afternoon, Kenneth, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners. From where I stand, I think it's a mixed bag of things. The country is benefiting from the windfall of petroleum price in the world market. However, the country is about 70% net import of fuel in Ghana. So if you are importing about 70% of your oil from the international world, then you have to think about it, whether the windfall is more than what import. However, if you look at the difference, you could see that 70% is higher than what the windfall, if you calculate it, which is about 8 billion Ghana cedis. So I personally think at this point in time, the government should weigh looking at how we rely on other things, diversify our economy to make sure that we get the needed revenue. For instance, if you look at what is happening, the price buildup of petroleum prices, the layers, you could see that the ex-refinery price is about 61%, thereabout. And what the OMCs are getting is about 18%, and taxes and levies is about 21%. If you put them together, you realize that there are things we can't do nothing about it. And when you look at the 60, because of what is happening in the Middle East. And mind you, if you look at what is happening, we are only concentrating on fuel. But we have a great sector, which is also in a dire need of fertilizer. And if you look at this, the Strait of Hormuz, you could see about 33% of fertilizer pass through that place. And about 30% of helium also passes through the strait, which is used for semiconductors and other things. So I personally think government should concentrate on investing or getting the system to empower foreign investors, not only for if we have Ghanaian investors, so that we can get more refineries, which has a double edge because it can produce employment at the same time, revenue, and pushing the government and the people of Ghana against these difficulties. So I think this is a delicate thing. I personally will advise the government at this point in time to think about the long-term impact, how the prices are going to affect the consumer. Right. And mind you, if you are looking at all these things, what you have to think about is energy security, economic security, and national security. Because if you don't get all these things right, then the economy that is told to bring inflation to 3.2, you've made sure other things, other variables, also in good shape, will be thrown off balance because looking at what is happening in the Middle East, there's no signs of the war getting to an end because right now the Americans are also going to block the strait. And this is a very huge challenge. So I suggest that whatever we need to do, we should link or think about the long-term impact, not only the short or medium term. Long-term impact, because looking at the debt at the energy sector and what we've gone through, it has been a cyclical thing that we've always go through. What can we do? I think we should plan long-term and get investors to invest in the refinery and get other people to get on board. That will just make the oil price not hitting us so hard. Because if you look at Nigeria, for instance, Dangote refinery is ramping up fuel and fertilizer export to African markets. Right. And as of now, they are producing about 650,000 barrels per day, which is its full capacity. So as a country and Ghana, what can we do to even mitigate or get closer to this by getting people who are resourceful to invest in these things, which will help us in the long run.
Right. Kofi, let me come in here. You've also highlighted the city as a key variable in all of this. Briefly, why?
Yes, because if you look at the city, our city is strengthening because prices of gold are high, cocoa is doing very well, so it has really helped us stabilize the city. If for now something happens to gold and other commodities that we sell on the international market, and it affects our city, then all the gains that we've made will be eroded. Because mind you, if you look at the city as against the dollar, and looking at how our economy is very small as compared to the global economy, then we have to always make sure that the city is always on a high pedestal that can stabilize and affect our economy in a positive way.
Right. Final one before I let you go. You've mentioned in your piece that Ghana's electricity tariffs, for example, are more than double those in countries like Vietnam and China. Is industrialization even viable under current energy costs, you say?
I'm afraid, as we find ourselves at this point in time, industrialization will not be viable under the Ghanaian economy. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because if you look at China and Vietnam, it's about 0.7 cents per kilowatt in those markets. If you come to Ghana, for instance, it's about 15 cents per kilowatt hour. You could see it's not viable to bring any production to our country if you want to maximize profit. And mind you, the aim of every producer or investor is to maximize and make profit. But if your city is up to this, then it will jeopardize how people will want to invest in your economy. For instance, if I want to produce, let's say, a mosquito net or any other thing, and I look at how much we charge per kilowatt in Ghana, and you compare that to Vietnam, Bangladesh, and those places, I'll be better off to send my manufacturing sector to those places, which will inure to the investors' benefit. And that is the first call of investors will look at before they look at other things. And what I want to say is we should start looking at, I've always been advocating for renewable energy when it comes to electricity in Ghana, because it takes a longer time to manifest. For instance, in 2015, the Russian state and the Egyptians signed a nuclear agreement with the Russian state, which is Rosatom, to build a 30 billion nuclear power facility near Ardaba, west of Alexandria. The facility is designed to have about 1.2 gigawatts of electricity with reactors. It will generate about 10% of North African countries' electricity needs and provide power to approximately 20 million people. And once you build this nuclear, these days it's not like nuclear, which is purely for anything that is against electricity. With this one that they are building in Egypt, they say that the fuel storage facilities will be reprocessed in Russia. And once completed, the plant will have about 4 reactors with a total capacity of about 4,800 megawatts. If you look at this and you look at what our peak hour in Ghana is, it's not even up to 4,000 megawatts. So then we have to think about the long term, because in energy, you always have to think about energy mix, not to depend on one sector, where it deprives you from getting your maximum output, that is going to affect you. So I think personally, government should always think about the long to medium and the long term, so that it will not, what is happening in this world, we don't know when it will happen in another form. The volatility of the oil market has always been with us from the time we start up to now. So I think government should also ramp up of building a lot of storage, like both, they have their Accra Plains, Kumasi, and Bupe facilities. We have to start thinking about strategic reserves, as Duncan said, and let's increase it and just make sure we renew, because our problem has always been, in terms of Ghanaians, how our maintenance culture has always been poor. And that has really affected us. So I think in the long run, government should think about long term and its impact, and the macroeconomy will be in a stable condition that will help us to project and process our future gains.
Kofi, final one. You've also raised concerns about the fact that inflation keeps dropping significantly, but the prices of fuel and utility prices are rising.
Yes. There's a big disconnect between the inflation figures and the living reality of many Ghanaians. Why I think inflation has dropped significantly to about 3.2% in March. I think fuel and utility prices are still rising, and this is a bit dicey. If you just suppose all these things together, you realize that then what is the disconnect? If you look at the actual price levels and inflation dropping, then we have to look at the basket of goods in the that we use to measure inflation and see how it will be connected to the reality or industry players, so that we can see there will not be any disconnect between the actual inflation figure and the living standard of the Ghanaian.
Kofi Into Kwenin, thank you very much. He's an energy economist. From energy, let's talk education, because education think tank Africa Education Watch is warning that Ghana's teacher distribution remains highly uneven, leaving several rural schools understaffed despite a national surplus of teachers. Speaking at a press briefing, Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, says about 20% of primary schools in Zabzugu are being run by just one teacher, while a significant number of teachers remain concentrated in urban areas.
Ghana has about 15,000 more teachers than required to meet the teacher ratio of 30:1 at the KG and primary level. At the JHS level, however, there are deficits, especially in STEM subject areas. This provides a context for our findings in study. Despite surplus teacher situation at education level in primary school, some 30,000 classrooms still lack teachers due to distributive inefficiencies, culminating in surplus teacher deployment in regional capitals, metropolitan areas, and urban municipalities. In the northern region, for instance, while there are 1,000 more primary and junior school teachers than needed, about 40% of them are concentrated in Tamale and Sadariko alone. In Tamale and Sadariko, however, only 25% of students in the northern region are found in schools. This situation, obviously, continues to deny rural districts access to teachers. As a result of the poor distribution of teachers, our monitoring uncovered that 20% of primary schools in that district were manned by only one teacher, from class 1 to class 6.
Well, he has also been describing the ongoing recruitment of 7,000 teachers as a failure.
While the estimated 7,000 teachers is below expectation, it provides some opportunity for government to give a true meaning to the age-old service, to the age-old lip service that the education sector has paid to the issue of teacher rationalization. Before
You're still watching The Pulse on JoyNews. We've also been hearing from the Teacher Trainees Association, who has been rejecting what they call the limited recruitment. Listen to them. So we can now go through the statement that they have released to that effect. And there you have it. It says that while acknowledging the prevailing economic challenges, TTAG must state unequivocally that this approach raises serious concerns about the pace and scope of teacher recruitment in Ghana, with unresolved recruitment issues affecting trained teachers from 2022 and significant numbers from the 2023 and 24 batches. The proposed figure falls short and risks prolonging delays in the engagement of qualified teachers. And these are some of the positions that they've stated. They say that those positions are clear. One of them is the rejection of uncertain and non-structured recruitment. It says that any attempt to move away from a clear, predictable and yearly recruitment structure is something they're going to reject, and the teacher trainees must not be left to uncertainty after completing their training. And they're demanding for a clear national roadmap, saying that an immediate publication of a comprehensive recruitment plan detailing how the backlog will be cleared and how future graduates will be absorbed is needed. And they're calling for a review as well, and they are calling on the Ministry of Finance and the President to review the current recruitment figures upward and demonstrate commitment to addressing the growing unemployment rate among trained teachers. So that is a statement that has been released by the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana to that particular effect. Well, let's get talking and bring in Divine Nanji, who is the president of the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana. Divine, good to have you on the program. Why are you opposed to this 7,000 recruitment that was announced by the Ministry of Education?
All right, so thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity, and then good evening to all your listeners as well. Yes, on the number of the 7,000 that the minister pronounced, it is something that we are looking at not to be enough, considering the 2022 backlog that we have, the 2023, the 2024, and then that of the 2025 as well, meaning that it's about 4-year budget as we speak.
Okay.
And recruiting 7,000 out of that number is something that is very less, and that is what we are calling on the Ministry of Finance, because right now we know that the problem is no more with the Ministry of Education, but rather everything is geared towards the Ministry of Finance to give more clearance so that at least we'll be able to allow the Ministry of Education to have more people recruited, and then the government as well. So as we speak, the 2022 backlog itself is there. The 23 is about 13,000 plus, and then the 24-25 is about 18,000. So in all, only that 2-year budget in all should be about getting to 31,807. And then the 2022 backlog, that number is there, almost numbering up to maybe 10,000. So in all these 7,000 that they are recruiting, it's not something that is enough. And more also, we are a bit concerned about the approach in which they are using to recruit, because we know that there is this predictable recruitment arrangement whereby we know that it is on a yearly basis. But this time around that they are going to combine almost, let's say, 4-year budgets. Then I don't know how best they are going to track the recruitment process when they are done with this 7,000. And we are a bit also concerned about when are they going to recruit the next people when they are done with this 7,000. That is some of these things that we are raising. Again, too, we are also making it known, because literally looking at how they are doing the approach or the approaching which they are using for the recruitment is indicating or telling us that maybe there is a shift in policy, which we all know that even during the campaign era of the incumbent government, they make pronouncement of the automatic posting for the trained teachers, which have been saying that it was not just words for us as trained teachers. It was hope that they gave to us that when we are done with school, when we finish the 4 years in the College of Education, which we know that they are unique institutions being trained or training people to become teachers, will be recruited at the end of the day. But with this current nature in which they are using for this recruitment, is telling us that maybe they are not considering the automatic posting again. And that is what we are saying, that if that is the case, then they should come out, the government should come out properly to let the trained teachers know that the automatic posting is not something that is to be considered again, so that we will not have any problem. Then we know that indeed when it came after the promise, they cancelled the automatic posting. Then we take it from there. So these are some of the things that we are calling on the government to do for us.
A backlog of over 30,000 trained teachers who are currently at home, and now the government says they are recruiting 7,000. How many more people do you want government to recruit in addition to the 7,000?
Yes, that is why in the first place we acknowledge the financial constraints. If the government is capable and they can recruit all the backlog that we have currently, because it was a promise they made that when they come, they're going to restore the automatic posting. So if they are going by the automatic posting, meaning that they'll be able to clear all the backlog. But in case of the financial strength of the country, they are not able to do so. We are expecting that they recruit, if not at all, they should be able to absorb the 2022 backlog and that of the 2023 full as a year back, so that we know that it's not left with the 2025, those that just completed their national service or those that just finished their national service. And then maybe in the coming days, they will be able to recruit them as well. So we are looking at a number that will be able to take care of the 2022 backlog and that of the 2023 as a year batch.
Together, how many are there?
The 2022 backlog, as I said, they are almost about 10,000. And then that of the 2023, they are 13,100. 13,100. And then that of the 2022 backlog, almost getting to 10,000 people. So that's what we are looking at. If not at all, and if the government, as a result of the financial constraint, the government will be able to recruit or to clear the 2022 backlog and that of the 2023. Then we know that we left the 2024 and that of the 2025 are waiting to be posted.
So the 2022 batch together with the 2023 batch is approximately 23,000. In addition to the 7,000 recruitment that is currently ongoing, that will bring the figure to 30,000. So you want government to recruit at least 30,000 people.
Yes, and let me also make this known that as we are measuring these numbers, it is not just that maybe there are no room for them to be recruited. We have a survey that says that we have about 30,000 empty classrooms. So if there are 30,000 empty classrooms, and we have about 34, almost getting to 35,000 qualified trained teachers in the house, what are they doing? Because then meaning that maybe the quality of education that we preach as a country is just work. Because if you have these trained teachers in the house doing nothing, and we have classrooms of 30,000 classrooms empty, and there's no any teacher over there, then it's something that is quite worrying as a country. And then we must make sure, and that's what we are calling on the government, to at least take the necessary steps in order to be able to recruit these numbers that we are having. Because I keep asking myself that if we are not able to absorb these particular numbers that we have in the system, then what is the essence of maybe even allowing people to be applying for colleges of education again? What are they going to do at the end of the day? So it's something that we are appealing to the government. We know you can do it because we have that hope that is indeed coming to help us as trained teachers, and we are counting on the government, especially the Secretary John Dramani Mahama and the Minister of Finance, to do something about this particular number, that 7,000, to be able to take up the 2022 and that of the 2023. That is maybe due to the financial strength of the country. But if they can, the 2024 as well is well qualified. They have all their necessary documents to be posted. They can as well be taken care of.
Divine, don't go yet. Let me bring in Daniel Fenye. He speaks for the Ghana Education Service. He's joining me on the telephone lines right now with more. Daniel, welcome to the program. What went into the decision to recruit just 7,000 teachers when Africa Education Watch is raising concerns that about 20% of primary school teachers in Zabzugu is being run by only one teacher? Hello, Daniel? Do I have Daniel Fenye with me? Right. Unfortunately, we've lost Daniel Fenye there. But let me bring back Divine Nanji, who is the president of the Teacher Trainee Associations of Ghana. Divine, you're still with me. We're still trying to establish connection with the Ghana Education Service to give us more explanation as to what went into the recruitment of just 7,000 teachers. But these demands that you are making of the government to recruit at least 30,000 of the trained teachers who are currently at home, what if it doesn't materialize? What do you do?
Yeah, so I've been saying it, I said it yesterday. As an association, we have so many ways that we will go, or maybe there are so many things that we will do as an association if at the end of the day, what we are looking for is not given to us. As we speak, we have made our petitions ready, and we are going to petition some key stakeholders. That is, number one is the Ministry of Education. We leave one to at the GES. We leave one to at the Ministry of Finance, because that is where the problem is. And then we'll also leave one perhaps at the Jubilee House for the attention of the President as well. following the pronouncement that he made during the campaign about the automatic posting. We're also looking even beyond that as well, going to maybe some key party people, especially the incumbent government, of making our issues known to them and see the way forward. When we are done with all these things, and maybe there are still no headway, we have the numbers as an association. I just mentioned this number to you. All the trained teachers that are in the schools as we speak, they are all our members. And we can advise ourselves accordingly as an association going forward.
Right, Divine. Thankfully, I have on the line Daniel Fenny again. He speaks for the Ghana Education Service. Daniel, welcome to the program. I was asking you what went into the decision to recruit just 7,000 teachers when there are many empty classrooms, and in some cases, in Sabzugu, for instance, there's one teacher that is teaching so many students from different classes.
All right, thank you very much. Most grateful for the opportunity, and a very good afternoon to our cherished viewers and listeners. Indeed, as you rightly mentioned, there's more room for improvement. 7,000, of course, as the saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. And so let's consider this as a journey that will result in making sure that all vacant areas in our schools are filled. As the minister rightly mentioned, the Honorable Minister for Education rightly mentioned that we got financial clearance. I mean, the ministry got financial clearance to recruit 7,000. And the explanation has been that looking at the fiscal space, looking at the economic situation, looking at the budgetary allocations to various agencies, various government programs and projects, and looking at the various interventions the government is putting in place to stabilize the economy, to ensure the nation is on its right footing, and looking at all the necessary parameters that exist. The Ministry of Finance thought it wise that 7,000 can be conveniently accommodated in the economic dynamics we find ourselves. And so they gave the Ministry of Education clearance to recruit 7,000. We are very much aware that the 7,000 may not be able to cover all the spaces that we have in our system. We are very much aware of that. Except to say that, of course, negotiations continue to happen, engagements continue to take place. This 7,000 is to offer hope and assurance to prospective teachers that the government is not sleeping at all. The government listens to them. The government is aware of their concerns, and the government will make sure that they are engaged as the economy permits. Indeed, let me also mention that as our teachers, the prospective teachers, continue to put their concerns forward, I should mention that we, the Ghana Education Service, we also need them as much as they need us. So they shouldn't even think that they are the ones who need Ghana Education Service. We really need them. In fact, if we had our way, if the economic situation permitted, we would have even engaged all of them. But you would agree with me, the situation of the country that we came to meet as an administration, engaging schools would have had very dire implications.
Daniel.
So it is part of the prudent.
Daniel, there are over 30,000 trained teachers at home waiting to be recruited by government. Now you're recruiting just 7,000 people. That is not half of the number. It's not even a quarter of the number. How long should they wait, the ones that are stuck at home? Hello, yes. Daniel?
So as I rightly mentioned, engagement continue to happen, conversations continue to happen. And when I say conversations...
Engagements with who? Between who and who? Are you engaging the TTAC?
The line is very, very faint.
Hello, Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes.
You mentioned that the engagement is happening, and engagement with who? Because we have the president of the Trained Teachers Association on the line with us. That's why I need clarity. Have you been engaging them? Do I still have Daniel on the line? Hello, Daniel. Unfortunately, I've lost Daniel Fenyi. He speaks for the Ghana Education Service. Well, let's bring in the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Anti. Dr. Anti, thank you very much for your time this evening. What do you make of the 7,000 numbers and the teacher trainees position?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. I think that this is a problem that policymakers have created that needs a rather dispassionate discussion instead of the normal kind of emotional discussion from some of the stakeholders. Ideally, teacher recruitment should be planned and systematic. What do I mean by that? We should have a plan in place that recruits teachers into the service every year. I don't understand this system where 3 years, then we say they have opened a portal and people are supposed to apply, right, and then the portal is closed, and then the next 5 years we have. I really seriously do not understand this, and this is a problem that has been created by policymakers. You don't wait till the numbers have piled up and then you open the portal again. I've also heard of the challenge of a lot of people who have been trained and certified as teachers but are not in the classroom. That is also a problem that we need to pay attention to. In terms of teacher recruitment, we should first look at the way we deploy teachers generally in our system. Now, if we do a lot of analysis in terms of the number of teachers in some of the schools and the number of teachers in other schools, we realize that some schools have more teachers, whereas other schools do not have at all. So yes, there might be a lot of teachers who have not been brought into the system, but we first need to address this kind of deployment challenges that we have in the system. Everybody wants to be at a particular place. So even those who are being recruited now, within 1 or 2 years, if you track, you will see that most of them will move away from those schools that they are being recruited to go and teach, because they want a specific kind of environment to be able to deliver quality education. So I think that the problem is so huge that it needs a lot of serious thinking and policy realignment to be able to address it. It is not, and with all seriousness and respect to my friends at TTAG, it is not an emotional issue where you think that you have been trained as a teacher and therefore the portal should be open and all the over 1,000 teachers that have been trained are recruited and deployed. It is not like that. We need to first ensure efficiency in the system, and to ensure efficiency in the system, we need the system. I mean, the Ministry of Education, Ghana Education Service, need to do a lot of redeployment, and then they will know where the spaces are. Before these 7,000 opportunity would have been even opened. But they didn't do that. They just get up and then say that, oh, we are opening the portal for 7,000, thinking that you'll be able to deploy 7,000, and then the rest would be attended to in the coming years. And I think that dealing with teacher recruitment in this manner is problematic. It is not progressive, and it is not efficient. We need to go back to the table and really look at how efficient we can be in terms of ensuring that we do this every year and allow people to apply just as we are doing, and forget about this automatic system and I've been trained and I have to be posted and all those things. We need to be very, very frank with this in terms of in discussing this issue.
Dr. Anti, don't go yet. I have back on the line Daniel Fenyi. Daniel, your line has been very unkind to me this afternoon, but let's try again one more time. You've been listening to the educationist, Dr. Peter Anti, make the point. Do you agree with him? Do we have Daniel? Unfortunately, we do not have Daniel. Let's continue the conversation with Divine. I have Divine also on the line, Divine Nanji with the Teachers Association of Ghana. He's their president. Divine, you've been listening to the educationists make the point that this is a holistic approach that must be taken. The blame cannot be solely apportioned to government as well. Is that something that you believe or agree with him?
All right, so thank you again for the opportunity. Yes, I heard what you said. And that is what I think the GSPRO mentioned something. There must be an engagement. There must be that kind of engagement where there will be an understanding between all the stakeholders that are involved, because we as well appreciate. But I beg to differ to say that maybe it should look like maybe as if we are begging the government to post us. It's not that we are begging the government to post us. That's what I said earlier, that we as trained teachers are not trained to go into any other field. So if we have been to the schools maybe for 4 years and you are being trained specifically to go into the classroom, and then at the end of the day you are done with the 4 years in school or stay in school, and then maybe it's now looking as if maybe you are coming to beg the government to be posted. He again acknowledged the fact that there are empty classrooms. So if that is the case, then we should look back to the starting point of the whole thing. So that if that's the case, maybe now that we have about almost getting to 40,000 trained teachers, professional trained teachers in the system, then maybe we'll close down the colleges of education until we absorb that particular number. Then maybe we start enrolling students again. But if that is not what we are doing, and we continue to enroll new students trained to become teachers, while we have about, let's say, 40,000 professional trained teachers in the system that they don't know when they are to be recruited, and then maybe we are pronouncing or making the announcement that it is not that maybe we deserve it and we shouldn't be taken off the automatic posting, then where are we going as a country? Where are we going? That's why I said earlier that we are trained to go and teach into in the classroom. We are not trained to go back home and teach our parents or be teaching ourselves. So I understood his point very well, but I also want to say that the advocate as well should also go to the starting point of it, so that if we have overpopulated trained teachers in the system and they cannot be recruited at maybe at a whole or at once, then there's no need for new students to be enrolled in the institutions that are designed specifically to train teachers. That is my point.
Right. Divine, don't go yet. Daniel Fenyi, let's try you again one last time. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
You were making a point when we lost you along the line.
Yes. So the point I was trying to make is that the 7,000, the ministry, the Ghana Education Service is already aware that there's much more to be done with the 7,000. That is never the finality. And right from day one, that has not even been the communication. The communication has been that having engaged the Ministry of Finance extensively on the need to make sure all our classrooms are occupied with teachers, and the Ministry of Finance having assessed the economic situation of the country, the activities of the time, the financial state, and all the metrics put together, the Ministry of Finance considered it expedient that clearance is in for us to put 7,000 teachers.
Right. Daniel, that point has been well established. How long should these trained teachers wait? How long?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we continue to engage with the Ministry of Finance. We continue to engage with our stakeholders, and we are hopeful, very, very hopeful, that we will get another clearance to recruit more teachers into the system. We are currently focused on the recruitment exercise ongoing. We want to finalize everything, assess the challenges, assess the situation, of course, assess the feedback that we are getting from all our stakeholders, and that will definitely feature prominently into the next exercise that we will.
Daniel, is there a chance that there could be further recruitment after this 7,000 recruitment within this year?
For this year, we may need to, of course, get feedback from the Ministry of Finance, but Ideally, that has been the thinking of the ministry, that has been the thinking of the Ghana Education Service. Of course, as I mentioned, the outcome of this particular exercise, the feedback we are getting, but we are already getting a lot of feedback from our stakeholders, the teacher trainees, the CSOs, our teachers, parents, even students, various schools. Don't forget that we have collected data from the various districts and schools about the vacancies they have and all that. So the outcome of this exercise would also serve as data for us to inform what next action to take, what next decision or when next recruitment should happen, what capacity should the Ministry of Finance even give us. And so that is why we are taking this ongoing exercise extremely seriously, because it's going to serve as data to inform the next decisions to be taken.
So do I take it to mean that there's no chance that there's going to be further recruitment this year?
Take it that upon our engagement with the Ministry of Finance, in fact, for every engagement that we make that have financial implications, we get finality from the Ministry of Finance. So take it that we are engaging with the Ministry of Finance and whatever they consider.
Right. So the Finance Ministry is going to detect
service, whatever they consider expedient for our teachers. Definitely, we will serve the best interest of our teachers.
Right. Daniel Fenye, he speaks for the Ghana Education Service. Thank you very much. We've also been hearing from Divine Nanji, who is the president of the Teacher Trainee Association of Ghana. Earlier, we heard from Dr. Peter Anti. He's an educationist. And Ghana is facing a growing public health crisis, with non-communicable diseases now accounting for nearly half of all deaths. That is according to the Minister of Health, Kwabena Minta Kando, speaking on PM Express on JoyNews yesterday. The minister warned that the country must urgently shift focus to early detection and prevention to curb the rising toll of these silent killers.
What for me is going to be the game changer is the fact that we are going to move into the homes of Ghanaians to do simple screening. You know, the NCDs are rising at an alarming rate in this country. About 42 to 45% of our mortalities are attributable to non-communicable diseases. But we must begin to trace the source. We must begin to be able to detect these conditions on time to prevent them from getting to the complications. So now we have Mahama Cares. And so these policies and reforms must be comprehensive. It must be complete. So we go back to free primary health care. They will help us to detect the disease on time, to prevent them if possible. But if unfortunately we are unable to prevent them or to detect them on time and it gets to its complicated stage, there's another policy called Mahama Cares to be able to save you. Again, it is important to note that the free primary health care has a limit. So beyond which you need a national health insurance card or you need to be a national health insurance subscriber. So we took the coverage of the national health insurance from around 57% coverage to 66%. What it means is that we have about 35% of the population doing out-of-pocket payment.
And the minister's comments come at a time when Ghana's health system is grappling with a dual burden of infectious diseases and a sharp increase in chronic conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. According to the World Health Organization, over 3/4 of these deaths occur in low and middle income countries. And here in Ghana, hypertension leads with over 2,000 deaths. Our research team has been going through the numbers for us. Let's take a look at them. That's it. Non-communicable diseases. The global outlook is that it is responsible for 74% of all deaths globally. So those are the nominal figures. 430 or 43 million people die yearly from non-communicable diseases around the world. And it is responsible for 3 in 4 deaths in low and middle income countries like Ghana. And 7 of the top 11 causes of deaths are non-communicable diseases back home in Ghana. So that is how severe the situation is when you bring it home. So these are the top 11 causes of deaths in Ghana. You see hypertension, pneumonia, heart failure, acute respiratory failure, stroke, diabetes, severe sepsis, septic shock, chronic liver disease, cancer, cardiovascular diseases. And as you can see, 7 out of those 11 leading causes of deaths in Ghana are non-communicable diseases. And the World Health Organization is estimating that 37% of all deaths here in Ghana as a result of non-communicable disease. That's almost half of all the deaths that are recorded in the country are as a result of non-communicable diseases. And still on health, though, the sector minister, Kwabena Minteh-Akando, has criticized former President Akufo-Addo, saying his administration did not properly plan before rolling out the Agenda 111 initiative. Speaking at the Government Accountability Series, the health minister noted that although the previous administration reportedly spent about 4.8 billion cedis on the Agenda 111 hospital projects, not a single facility is currently operational. He added that the administration of President John Mahama is committed to completing and putting the facilities to effective use. Former President Akufo-Addo, days ago, during the launch of the centenary celebration of the Chebi Government Hospital, urged the current administration to complete and operationalize the Agenda 111 hospital projects. Let's get talking and bring in the ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee, Dr. Ayew Afriyie, for more on this. Welcome to the program. There are claims concerning the Agenda 111 projects by the sector minister, saying that not one was even functional when they took office. Is that the case?
My brother, why would you want to suggest that every project that was started by the previous government was completed? And if you have a policy or you have a plan, what is the case if a government inherits another government's project? You have to complete them. You're talking about UTMC. It wasn't completed. The various phases, the MPP government continued, Ridge Hospital, what have you. Other projects that were commissioned and completed. So if you have started an Agenda 111 project, you may call it as ambitious as it is. But who benefits at the end of the day? It is a global vision, universal health coverage, where Ghana is no exception. Various countries are rolling out a plan to provide state-of-the-art healthcare facilities at a primary level. Often than not, we have thought those things are only good for people in their cities. But this ambition across the globe is to push such centers to the rural areas and then reduce the outflux of patients from the rural areas to the cities and decrease the issue of the no-bed syndrome. You are saying that was not thought through. It's a global action. Let your producer Google just universal health coverage 2030. You see, Rwanda is rolling out various hospitals across rural areas. So in every strategy or in every realms of governance, you have vision, the mission, okay, the objective, and you have a strategy. So if the vision is that within 2030 we can have hospitals across board to reduce referrals, to make sure that people are comfortable and healthy at the district level, you are saying that is overambitious. You have ABFA, annual budgetary funding amount. That earmarks an amount of money to healthcare from the oil sector. And we have used it progressively. When you came to office, you have actually cut that sort of funding to have completed some Agenda 111 projects, obviously for political reasons. Some of them are in various phases of completion. Some 95%, some 90%, some 70%, some 80%. They must be more responsible. You complete Agenda 111, you are only getting interested in the health of the rural-based dweller. So for that matter, he is not supposed to be referred to the center. You have not completed it. Many grasses are going out or competing with all these projects wherever they are located. It would employ nurses, doctors, and all of them. You have almost over 100,000 nurses are waiting to have been employed by government. You don't want to touch it. You're going to launch a primary health care. You're going to spend almost about 1.2 billion on the primary health care. That would have been able to complete several Agenda 111 projects. What are we doing to ourselves?
Do you then say that the primary health care, which is
mere politics?
Hello, Nana, can you hear me?
Should you always do politics?
Can you hear me? Hello? Can I come in? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go on, please.
Right, you've touched on the free primary health care, which is set to be rolled out. You seem to be questioning why we are shifting focus to that when there are Agenda 111 hospitals to be
yes, but
completed.
What is the use of the people's money to launch a free primary health care when Agenda 111 is sitting with you in the district? Why do you behave as if living in Accra?
Are you then saying it is irrelevant?
People? Hello?
Is it irrelevant? Yes, I can hear you. Can you? Hello, Nana,
okay.
Can you hear me?
Were you asking me a question? Okay, you go ahead.
Yes, I was asking you a question. You say that why leave the Agenda 111 hospitals to go and undertake a new project, which is the free primary health care. Are you saying by that it is irrelevant to do that, the free primary health care?
Absolutely. It is absolutely irrelevant to launch a free primary health care whilst you are not focused on an Agenda 111 project. Where does it sit? Let me tell you why it sits. Look, the free primary healthcare initiative they are launching, where is the gap? You want to increase promotive healthcare, preventive healthcare by the individual to reduce the burden of what? Hypertension, diabetes, etc. The chronic ailment. Now, assuming they have any of them now, they are burdened by traveling with the barrier to healthcare, finance barrier to healthcare. They are burdened to travel to several other places. So what do? In the immediate term, in the short term, what do? In the medium term, in the long term? Look, behavioral change communication takes not like a year or 2 years for people to even realize that they have to stick to this diet and co. Who doesn't know about dietary patterns to preventing healthcare? Who doesn't know about promotive healthcare? They are community health workers or auxiliary nurses who goes as volunteers, educating people all this while. So let us know what you're going to do. The most important thing is that every place has CHIPS compound. Every place has health center. What they lack is state-of-the-art district hospitals. Many structures they use for district hospitals are all colonial structures, health posts adapted as district hospitals, not befitting for anybody. You are not interested in that. What you are interested in is throwing loads of money to a so-called primary healthcare initiative. In the nutshell, they will be still referred. There are cases of diabetes and co and hypertension and chronic ailments in the system who will still be referred. Where would they be going to? They will be crossing to Kumasi. And therefore, what would you have to think to? You think through by making sure at least Agenda 111 hospitals are ongoing. You cannot complete all of them now.
Right.
Who says you can complete all of them now? Rearrange them in a manner that in the next 10 years, we can complete them. Let Ghanaians know you are committed to some. In the meantime, you are also doing this. You've invested almost, you claim 4-point-something billion in it. And you've not touched it. You are now going to invest 1.2 billion a month into a year, into free primary health care. What says yours is better?
But Nana, the sector minister has made it clear that they are not abandoning the Agenda 111 projects. Surely two things can exist at the same time. That can be ongoing, and the free primary health care
at the same time, they should be able
if
to
I may land, the primary health care could also go on.
If two things can exist, let us know how much money you applied for or you released to Agenda 111 last year, and let's know how much you have released for this year.
So, according to you, Agenda 111 is very important, yes?
It is not even according to me. I want you to invite experts from the World Health Organization. Let them speak on why global action is rolling out such projects. It is to attain universal health coverage, affordable, accessible healthcare, etc. by the year 2030.
But that also raises the question that when President Akufo-Addo announced Agenda 111 in the early 2020s, he did indicate that it was going to be completed by the end of that year. Not a single one was functional according to the NDC government. Please let me land.
Are you akin to? Are you interested in solutions, or you are interested in whatever reasons why the MPP lost power?
Can I land? Can I land, Nana? Yes.
Yeah, land.
So I am asking that if you, that's why I asked you, is it's a very important issue. If it's a very important policy, like you've made us understand that the World Health Organization has made us understand of achieving universal free healthcare by 2030, why is it that much priority wasn't given to the Agenda 111, that at least we shifted focus on, let's say, completing about 10 or 20?
In the midst of scarce resources, that is what happened. You have rolled out a project. You are encouraging and you are applying resources. And for that matter, you as a country, you should be committed to it. When you complete it, even in 30 years, it's for Ghanaians. It belongs to Ghanaians. It will save lives. That is what matters to me.
Okay. Then with the free primary health care, which you've already said is irrelevant, set to roll out tomorrow, would you say that it's already a failure even before it's rolling out, looking at all these things?
Absolutely. But see, where is the gap? There's already departments of primary health care in the Ghana Health Service. They're already executing primary health care. So where is the gap? Explain to me, where is the gap? What thing are they doing new? Then maybe they are strengthening the pre-primary health. They are strengthening healthcare, primary healthcare. Call it strengthening primary healthcare because in your assessment of it, these are the gaps and you want to strengthen it. But what is free about it? And what is new about it? And why, I mean, really, 1.2 billion into it a year. We are waiting. Let them start. Let them start. Everything that is good for the Ghanaian, we support it. Let them start. We'll interrogate it. Let them start. We are okay. Let them start it. And let them abandon Agenda 111 for all they care about the many health workers sitting down, thinking about how they can be employed. They can only also be employed when you have ambitious projects at that and being completed. Nurses, doctors, physio lab, all of them are being employed. Both formal health workers, informal health workers, and direct and indirect ones. The more you complete them, the more they are employed. You joke with the number of health workers being poured out every year who are unemployed. They're back. When the heat comes back, they will come back at them. Let them abandon some. Let them abandon it. We are here. We'll interrogate it. What is good for Ghanaians is what we will support.
Right. Now, the sector minister also touched on the fact that there's going to be a house-to-house project as a result of this primary health care, where health professionals will be visiting house to house to provide healthcare tips to people. Is that a good policy, you'd say?
They are going to provide kits for
health tips
in the rural areas.
They'll
provide kits to them. That's what he said.
Okay.
So we are here. Our job is to provide oversight, and as minority, to provide alternative, to scrutinize the policy, to see the outcome of it, right? Or the impact of it, and speak to it. We will speak to it.
Right.
I wish him well.
Right. The free health care, according to the minister, is also going to result in recruitment of more health personnel to be able to execute this project.
My brother, stop
good
this.
News?
They are already in the system.
Where are they?
The nurses. See, the auxiliary nurses who are already in the system are going to be deployed for the project, okay? So for me, I don't know what new employment there will be. If they were, they should have to let us know the clearance they have in hand to show that this number of people are being deployed for the primary health care. What they have shown lately is about 16,000 clearance that they have for health workers, health nurses across board to be segmented, rural-based or regional-based employment, as I understand. So what is the new clearance they have for persons who they are already health workers in the system who are being paid, and who are these auxiliary nurses they are going to use? So I don't know what you're talking about. In any case, the funding is going to come from the NHIA. The same NHIA that is supposed to make providers very comfortable. Very comfortable. Providers have been in overall, on the average, about 300 million are going to providers. A year, probably 12 times, say 3.6 billion. The allocation to provider payments about 6.something billion. So all this money could have gone to help providers cushion up with the so-called stingy prices they give them on drugs and consultation. That mix of providers always complaining. You are supposed to make providers better off to stock drugs. They are not even being able to do that because of the stingy prices you give to providers. You have put down a whooping 1.2 billion out of those proceeds for providers to do free primary health care. We are here. We are watching. That's all.
Right. What about the decentralization of recruitment process now? According to the minister, you don't need to come to Accra. If you're coming from Bolgatanga, you can get there. You can be at Bolgatanga. You get to your district, and the recruitment processes will be done for you smoothly. Good news, surely.
Okay. I mean, obviously, that policy to me is a fair call.
Right.
It's a fair call because, except that what's going to happen here is that various regions and their population sizes. Okay. So, if you are locating openings or vacancies, I expect that based upon population needs, Greater Accra will take more, Ashanti will take this will take that. So we need a publication based upon population and the allocations they have done. You understand? I would not hesitate to come along with new ideas. The fact that it has not been done doesn't mean it cannot be done. And it could be a reason that they are doing this to be able to fill in a gap or to be able to provide a solution. Okay, so for me, it's an innovation. Human beings would resist to some changes because this is something new. But I think it might go in the long haul to be able to take care of some gaps in the system. So long as the minister is able to explain the gaps and the reasons behind it, and it is in the interest of the population, I don't see why I will object to it because it's a new thing. For me, I think it's decentralized to allow for postings of persons in the region who are willing to accept places. You understand? Very often than not, you have that difficulty of I posted you and I will not go. Are you with me?
I am.
I posted you and I will not go. So therefore, if they will do the recruitment locally, and then they will incentivize them, and people will say, okay, I live in Accra, but look, the incentives in Upper West is good, so I prefer to go and work in Upper West for a period. There again, this should go with some sort of other benefits to encourage people to take the postings and to say, okay, once you take the posting, you are entitled to so and so, write your exams, faster career progression. There should be some incentives. Just decentralizing it, it's not enough. But for me, I'm sure he's more trying to solve the problem of being in your region to fill in vacancies in the system. Let's encourage people to do that. I think it's a fair call.
Right. Nana Ufree, thank you very much for your time on the program this afternoon. He's the ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee. Still on health, though, the construction of health posts for free primary health care is underway as Health Ministry assures of quality care. The sector minister has been inspecting the health posts for this project, and Hannah Odami was on that particular trip with her. With the minister, and Hannah is joining me in the studio with more. Hannah, when you went there, what did you witness? Tell us.
We went to two places. One was the construction site where the health post is being mounted. And then we also went to the warehouse. The warehouse is at Tema. It's called the Mega Warehouse. Once you enter, you will see lots of the construction materials. These are materials that have been brought in specifically for these health post. And so we saw the metal boards, we saw the Teflons, and we saw all those ones. From there, we moved to the Medina Social Welfare, where we saw the construction actually going on. And you would see the foreman and then the guys who were building it. They took us through, we just saw, I would say, just a straight building, if I should put it that way, just a linear or a very horizontal building. But then they told us the different compartments that will be in there. There's going to be a washroom, both male and female washroom. There is going to be solar panels, so they're not going to rely on the national grid so that there are no issues. There's also going to be a borehole, and then there's going to be the poly tanks up there. And we also have the access for persons with disabilities. plus the stairs as well. There's going to be a waiting room. There's going to be a delivery room. Even though for basic health care, there's going to be a detention room. So for basic health care needs, once you go to these facilities, you get to access them. They looked quite small. So I was curious, how can all of these facilities you are mentioning be in such a building? Because obviously that was the second one that was being built. So we couldn't see the end of it. And he told us once we come there, probably in the next 1 or 2 weeks, we will see that it has been really fitted, furnished, and we will see that all the amenities that he mentioned, they will all be in there. From there, the minister just spoke to us and told us that this is the second one, and then across the country, they will identify markets, they will identify specific areas where they think that these health posts should be situated, and then they will go get them there. Whilst we were speaking, we had some persons who vaccinate children also come around, and they thought that they could add a vaccination point as well. So immediately, a particular part of the area that was being built for the health post was designated for a vaccination center as well. So, Kenneth, that's what we saw on our rounds today. And the construction is being done with metal, but then because there are Teflons in there, it will be heat resistant. There is no way that should it catch fire, anything will happen. It will just be very safe. Should anything happen, we pray it doesn't happen, but should such a thing happen, and then also it will be fitted in such a way that the heat, because it's metal, there will not be so much heat in there. Everybody who goes there will be very comfortable. And that's the construction of the health post that's going to be across the country, 150 of them.
And how long until they are ready, did the minister say? No,
he didn't say that, but he said work is speedily ongoing, and that's why he went on the inspection tour to encourage the foreman, because I asked the foreman that, is he the only one building across the country? And he said yes. So it means either he has designated others for other parts of the country, or because he said he just constructed one in Dodowa. From there, he's building the one in Medina. He'll be moving on. So the minister couldn't give us a concrete response on the exact date that they will finish, but he said work is speedily ongoing, and he's sure that they will finish them.
Hano Dami there, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Now, health authorities in the eastern and northeast regions have been compelled to treat patients with various infectious diseases in makeshift wards. When multiple infections are handled in the same room, the risk of cross-infection to patients and health workers increases significantly. Nate tracks how the gap in infrastructure for treating infectious diseases impacting healthcare in our latest hotline documentary, Healing in Borrowed Spaces. Here are excerpts.
The room was once meant for tuberculosis alone, but over time, when infectious disease patterns changed, the space did not.
Whatever infectious disease comes, are you going to put them all in the same room? So risking all their lives to exposure of, you came with one disease, maybe I came with meningitis, and then I'm lying close to somebody with TB without the systems that filters the air. I may get the person's TB, but I can also be kept in the general ward because I pose a risk to other patients on the general ward. So that we are still managing with that small isolation center, but we have outgrown the center.
I have come to meet Dr. Franklin Esiedi-Bequin, a public health physician with long-standing experience in disease surveillance, outbreak preparedness and response. He believes that managing infectious diseases does not depend solely on the space where a patient is treated.
No, so first and foremost, you need to be able to ascertain the kind of condition you are managing, and then also whether you have the required human resource to manage it. So, let's say if you have a disease condition, first you need to confirm it and make a determination. After that, you also need to ask yourself, do you have the human resource to manage that case? Then two, do you have the required setup in terms of equipment, in terms of management of the case itself?
At the Eastern Regional Hospital, the holding bay for infectious diseases is an improvised space created during the COVID-19 period. The hospital's management collapsed several units to create the facility, which has an 11-bed capacity. For disease control officers managing different infectious diseases in this makeshift structure, it has become a dilemma. Esther Avoka, is the disease control officer.
It's very challenging having just a ward that is serving as a makeshift for infectious diseases. We have various forms of infectious diseases. You cannot mix TB cases with people who are coming in and are being diagnosed with mpox, or cases that may come in whether dengue fever and other infectious diseases. The transmission differs. Okay, so we need to have a space, and even the place is not conducive enough. If you see the airflow of this area, it's not so conducive, and where it is located. So it is challenging. Moving cases, some out and some in, it defeats the purpose of infection prevention.
So if you have, let's say, 3 different infectious diseases, then what happens?
It means you have to prioritize. All right. You look at the one that is more infectious. So if you are looking at Ebola and you are looking at TB, you prefer to move TB to the ward, which is an airborne condition, and then maybe with nose marks. It is not droplets. It is airborne. It's droplet nuclei. So the infection of TB is less dangerous than if it is a case of Ebola.
The Registrar of the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, Dr. Winfred Barr, has been expressing his view on the situation.
I've chatted of Evian Quanta Regional Hospital. They are registered with the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, and their license is still active. So they've satisfied all our requirements. But that notwithstanding, we still continue to monitor facilities, because the fact that you are licensed does not mean that you will not falter along the line. So if there are any issues regarding the way you provide your service, we can still step in. So we are happy to hear this, and I will send my team very soon to go and cross-check all of that. And then we will put in remedial measures, and where we need to also sanction, we will. And we are happy that this has come up. We will follow up.
So if I understand, the hospital may be registered, but the facility that you're using for these particular treatments may not have been registered. And the hospital should not assume that because they are registered generally, the facility as well can be okay for treatment. Is that the understanding I should be getting?
Yes, please. So when a facility is being licensed, based on the inspections we do and what you have at the time and your staff strength, we license you to provide a certain number of services. So if you are going to add another service, you need to inform the agency. We'll have to come and inspect and see whether you have what it takes to provide that extra services. For example, if a hospital is registered to, let's say, provide services, maybe when they were applying, they didn't add fertility services, but now you want to add fertility, you need to inform us. We will come and inspect your facility and see whether you have what it takes to provide that service. Then we can approve that for you to do. So the fact that a facility is licensed does not necessarily mean they can do everything.
Return from the break with more stories for you here on The Pulse. Don't go anywhere. Hello again. Wulugu in Northeast region lies in a savanna belt increasingly affected by climate change. Erratic rainfall, prolonged dry spells, and land degradation is threatening livelihoods. Many households, especially women, rely on charcoal and fuel wood during the dry season, during deforestation. To tackle this, improved cooking solutions have been introduced in some communities to reduce environmental impact and support climate adaptation. Isaac Nonya has more in today's Climate Evidence.
And reduce the pressure on forest resources in selected communities, including Wulugu in the Savannah Ecological Zone. Charcoal production and fuel harvesting are among the major drivers of deforestation, particularly targeting shared trees that are significant to female livelihoods and local biodiversity. Hence, the introduction of the improved cooking solutions in selected communities to reduce and manage the menace in the enclave for a better tomorrow.
Ba we ya kama o biesu sia o pe nta no abiesu ba o pe se so bra na kata so no bie to ko piki we this way o pe se o te kata so o be so no the paper te me ji say no pe ma che se ne eguso ya te me so ka bo to we ya ababa boya pa.
Unlike Mary and Lukaya, Florence is still using the traditional stove. She's however ready for the adaptation initiative.
Yes, I have one, but I want the big one, which will help me to do the tower because I spend a lot of firewood inside this local one. And I also have more heat on it. And the heat, it disturbs me a lot. So if I were to get the big one, it will help me a lot.
In 2025, a Tamale-based civil society organization, Youth Empowerment for Life, in partnership with the Faculty of Sustainable Development at the University for Development Studies, commissioned a study to look at the causes and effects of charcoal production in Buipe and Wulugu in the Savannah Ecological Belt.
As part of the findings, there were proposed apps for us to undertake in terms of intervention, whilst also pursuing policy change at the ministry level. But then at the community level, the interventions that we proposed was for us to look at how do we reduce at least household use of charcoal and firewood, which are biomass, by introducing improved energy efficient cook stoves. Then on the other leg, the fact of the matter is that charcoal production is tied to people's livelihood. So you would have to also bring about an intervention that to address or create that shift in livelihood into cleaner livelihoods that do not threaten the environment and in the essence have effects on the climate space.
The outcome of that study led to the introduction of the improved stoves and a 2-acre solar-powered irrigation facility to address their livelihoods. Isaac Nonye's report for JoyNews.
This story is brought to you by JoyNews in partnership with CDKN Ghana, University of Ghana Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, with funding from CLARE R4I Opportunities Fund.
Let's head to the Ashanti region now, where the combined Kumasi Central Market Traders Union has issued a one-month ultimatum to the government to direct contractors to resume work on the phase 2 of the Kejetia Market Redevelopment Project. The union warned that failure to meet the deadline will result in massive demonstrations. Leaders threatened to pull down barricades and return to trading in the uncompleted facility if their demands are not met. Addressing the press, the union secretary, Emilia Kofi, decried challenges the traders have faced since they were relocated in 2021 to pave the way for the redevelopment project.
The combined Kumasi Central Market Traders Union, at a press conference, decried challenges the traders have faced since they were relocated in 2021 to pave way for the redevelopment project. Emilia Kofi is secretary of the union. According to her, many traders who were moved to the racecourse site are grappling with poor road network, poor sanitation, poor lighting systems, and insecurity, all of which have negatively affected customer patronage.
In 2021, traders at the central market were evicted to pave way for the commencement of the phase 2 of the KJTR redevelopment project. While some traders were relocated to racecourse, a vast majority are scattered all over the city without permanent trading spaces, and another majority find themselves in the house practically jobless. Although the project commenced on a promising note, work has stalled significantly for quite a long time now, and the stipulated completion period has elapsed without any communication or explanation to we the affected traders. The situation continues to affect our livelihoods, something that I need not mention. Traders currently operating at the racecourse are faced with severe challenges, including poor road networks, poor sanitation, poor lighting system, and an absolute lack of security. These conditions discourage customer patronage, while the lack of security exposed traders to frequent attacks and loss of their capital.
Emilia further revealed the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, had assured the union that work on the Phase 2 project would resume in March 2026. However, she noted the promise has yet to materialize. The union emphasized, in the light of these concerns, it is issuing a firm ultimatum to the government and all relevant authorities to ensure the release of funds and resumption of the work by end of May 2026.
In view of the above, the union is issuing a very firm ultimatum to the government and all relevant authorities to ensure the release of funds and the resumption of work on the project by the end of May 2026. Failure to comply may leave the union with no option than to embark on a massive course of action.
The union also recommended that management of the market be handed over to a competent private entity that will prioritize the welfare and security of traders while ensuring efficient management of the market.
The union again strongly recommends that the management of the market be handed over to a competent private entity that will prioritize the welfare and security of traders while ensuring the efficient management of the facility.
We stay a while in the Ashanti region because the Asokore-Mampong Municipal Assembly in that region is seeking a complete re-engineering of the Abuabo storm drain as a long-term solution to perennial flooding in the area. Municipal Chief Executive Ben Abdallah Al-Hassan says such a project will help protect property and save lives in recurring flood-related deaths.
The Asokore-Mampong municipality is known for its devastating floods with loss of life and property. Last year, the assembly took a giant step by dredging the Pelele and Asabi Junction storm drains. A development authorities say prevented flood-related deaths. Municipal Chief Executive Ben Abdallah Al-Hassan tells JoyNews the assembly will build on last year's success to promote zero flood-related deaths. According to him, the assembly will also carry out public sanitation and flood prevention education. The move is to train residents to be responsible citizens as they shift their mindset from littering their environment.
A lot of education and sensitization is ongoing because we feel attempts or efforts at making sure that the sanitation situation is improved within our municipality is a shared goal and a shared responsibility. It is not as though the duty of the citizenry or residents is to litter and the duty of the assembly is to collect the litter. It's a shared responsibility, and so we feel there should be a lot more assistance in that regard from residents and citizens alike. My men from the Environmental Health Division of the Assembly are also on the grounds. Even yesterday, they went into town to also conduct some public education. We've told them the floods are in again, and we don't want a situation where flooding will lead to loss of lives and property. We even have the biggest worry at the Aboabo storm drain, the one that is popularly referred to as the Pelele. And last year, when I took office, we conducted an extensive dredging of the storm drains, both the Aboabo Pelele and the Asabi Junction storm drain. And so you realize that the whole of last year, from around May, when I took office, to December, there wasn't a single flooding situation over there due to the extensive dredging works that were carried out there. This year, we are continuing with the same. And next week, God willing, we will be doing another dredging. Our major problem with the Aboabo storm drain, or the Pelele as we normally refer to, is actually a complete re-engineering. That is what we believe will solve the situation. We need to widen it and increase the depth so that you'll be able to contain a lot of the volume with regard to the water that comes in there. And so thankfully, the Member of Parliament has pushed this a lot. And a couple of months ago, we met with the technical personnel from the Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing, and the Garrett Group and the World Bank Group. And we are pushing very hard to secure assistance in that regard so that there will be a complete re-engineering of the storm drain. The same thing applies to the Asabi storm drain. But currently what we are doing is to ensure that we put in place proactive measures to contain the flooding situation.
Meanwhile, Mr. Alasan wants stakeholders to support the Assembly to help prevent perennial floods and their related deaths. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oimetewia reporting.
The Northern Regional Minister Adolf John Ali has urged the Tamale Metropolis and Sanarugu municipal assemblies to work together to ensure the sustainable development of Greater Tamale. He said that although if they do that through collaboration, greater cities in the West have developed, and urged the assemblies to emulate the same. He made these remarks at a meeting with the European Union to sign an agreement with the two assemblies to strengthen waste management and climate resilience.
The signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the European Union and the two assemblies is to ensure efficient development, strengthen waste management and climate resilience, and address boundary disputes, among others. Speaking at the event, the Northern Regional Minister, Adolf John Ali, said the assemblies must work together to bring development.
To urge the two assemblies to take full advantage of this initiative, to undertake joint development planning with a shared vision to ensure coordinated development for the Greater Tamale. For instance, the two assemblies should be thinking now on how to deal with sanitation challenges confronted them and offer solutions that can accommodate the waste generated from the two districts.
The European Union ambassador to Ghana, Rune Skenebash, said the MOU includes the definition of common service zones across the two municipalities.
Your joint work on waste management is a strong example, developing common systems, shared equipment and infrastructures, and coordinated procurements. This is how real change happens. The EU is proud to support this effort through the Sustainable Cities programs. Concretely, this support goes beyond dialogue. We are helping to turn coordination into real, visible improvements on the ground. We supported both assemblies in designing a joint and harmonized solid waste management system for Greater Tamale, including the definition of common service zones across both municipalities. The introduction of coordinated and innovative procurement approach based on a performance-based contract and the alignment of waste collection standards and operations. In addition, the European Union is financing essential equipment to make the system operational, including waste collection trucks, skips, and containers.
The mayor of Tamale, Abubakar Itakaro, emphasized that critical development challenges such as climate change, peace and security, water and sanitation requires a collective action.
Critical development challenges such as climate change, peace and security, water and sanitation, and food security demand collective action. No single authority can address these issues in isolation. It is only through strong partnership and effective collaboration between local authorities, national institutions, and international partners that we can truly enhance the well-being of our citizens.
The Wa West Municipal Assembly of the Northeast region is facing the harsh realities of climate change as recurring floods and environmental degradation continue to threaten their livelihoods. The situation, worsened by annual spillages from the Barry Dam in Burkina Faso, has forced many farmers to abandon agriculture and turn to charcoal burning for survival. Our correspondent reports.
Standing here in Du, it is difficult to imagine that this dry, cracked land was once fertile farmland. Today, it is frequently submerged as annual spillages from the Bagre Dam trigger destructive floods along the White Volta River. For local farmers, the floods are both predictable and devastating. Crops are washed away before harvest, farmlands reduced to silt and debris, and incomes wiped out. Alassane Damankon says he now travels south to take up menial jobs just to meet his family's needs.
95 Since 1995, the river has continued to destroy our farms whenever we cultivate them, forcing me to travel to Kumasi each year to take up other jobs in order to feed my family back at home.
With farming no longer reliable, many residents are turning to charcoal burning and wood harvesting to survive. Kulap Siba Seidu and his brother Abdul Wahab Seidu lost their farm maize to heavy rains and the Bagre Dam spillage. Now they cut down trees to produce charcoal. They admit the practice is harmful to the environment, but say they have no choice.
My
maize crop was destroyed last year, and I nearly lost my life trying to salvage what little I could. As a result, we have no choice but to cut down trees and burn charcoal to survive. We will not engage in these activities if we had access to a decent livelihood options.
In this community, trees are felled, burned and sold, bringing quick incomes, but at a cost. The once green landscapes is rapidly disappearing, weakening the community's natural defenses against climate shocks. Kulap Siba shows us one of his several charcoal burning sites. He says he's unhappy with what he does, but survival leaves him little no choice.
We understand the harmful effects of cutting down trees and producing charcoal, but we do it out of hardship, especially after our farm produce was destroyed by floods.
Environmental observers warn this is a dangerous circle. Floods destroy farms, pushing communities into deforestation, fueling carbon emissions and worsening climate change. The traditional chief, Bana Jonah Yusuf, acknowledges the problem.
The climate change is affecting our crop season because normally, first you can predict that rain will start this month and end this month. But this time round, you cannot predict. The time you were expecting the rain to rain, it won't rain that time. The time you were not expecting the rain to rain, that's where the rain started. So I'm sure this is the effect of the cutting down the trees. It changed the climate.
But he admits enforcing a ban could worsen the hardship faced by the residents.
They have no choice. So sometimes it's a headache for the chief of the community to protect all this. Because sometimes when you hear their complaining, you also feel, if it is you, how will you do?
Instead, he's encouraging tree planting as a way to reduce the community's vulnerability.
Especially the palm nut trees, the shea butter trees. No? Yes, we need, that was what I decided, that when rain started, and if you have your farm and you see that the palm trees or the shea nut trees are not enough, we will encourage you to be planting some. If I have government support or any private support, so that I will produce the seed, then share to my people, so that while you are farming, you have to be taking care of the trees.
He also points to stalled projects like the Pualugu multi-purpose dam as part of long-term solution project expected to support irrigation and control flooding.
So we are pleading with government to have a look at the project, come back and continue it, and it will help not only Northeast.
There are also growing calls for stronger cooperation between Ghana and Burkina Faso to regulate water releases and protect downstream communities. For now, residents of Du remain caught between two threats: the floods that destroy their farms and the trees they must cut to survive. For them, climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is a daily struggle. Elias Sutanko reporting from Du for JoyNews.
The Upper West Regional Minister Charles Puzin has urged law students of the University of Business and Integrated Development Studies to view their legal education as a critical tool for national development. He made the call during a public lecture held at the university's new auditorium as part of the Law Students Union Week celebration. JoyNews is the Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
The lecture was held under the theme Preparing the 21st Century Lawyer, Bridging Legal Education and Practice. It brought together seasoned legal practitioners, academics, and political figures to mentor students on the realities of the legal profession. Upper West Regional Minister Charles Wongo Pozun challenged the law students of the university to view their education as a vital tool for national development.
An effective political leader is not the one who speaks the loudest, but the one who understands the consequences of every word and every decision. When you are legally trained, you do not just see what is popular, you see what is lawful, what is fair, and what is sustainable. That clarity is rare, and it is needed now more than ever. But let me be clear, law alone does not make a great leader. What it does is gives you a compass. It grounds your decision in principle rather than impulse. It shapes your judgment and forces you to see both sides, even when you strongly believe in one.
Charles Wongo Pozun, who's an immovable property expert, reminded the aspiring lawyers that power is a trust to be guided, not a privilege to be enjoyed.
In politics, the balance is what prevents abuse of power. It is what transforms authority into responsibility, and a legally trained leader understands that power is not a privilege to be enjoyed, but a trust to be guided. Think about the structure of a courtroom, the order, the respect for process, the insistence of fairness. Now imagine bringing that same discipline into governance. Imagine leaders who do not bypass systems, but strengthen them. Leaders who do not fear the law, but embody it. That is the transformation legal training can bring into political leadership.
That's it for the pause this evening. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. There you have it. Our top story this hour says no foreign military bases or troops in Ghana under EU deal. That's according to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Thank you very much for being a part of the show this evening. My name is Kenneth Jesse. The news team returns at 7 p.m. with News Prime. Have a good evening.